Does speed matter to you? That is a question that I'm posing to you here. And here now we're talking about the speed of your network. So your home network, your network within your small business. Does the speed of your connectivity, does it matter to you? Does it affect your performance? Well, if the answer is yes, and without a doubt, it ought to be yes, because the speed does determine, what you can do and the extent to which you can do what it is that you do and how quickly you're able to do some of these tasks. That is what this video is going to be about. I'm going to be looking at things that you need to factor in before you go purchasing particular equipment and before you go signing that contract with your ISP. No, these are things, as I mentioned before, that can have serious implications for the outcome of your network and the extent to which you are being productive on your network at home within your small business. I'm going to share with you roughly 6-7 tips thereabout for your consideration. All right. Hey, my name is Roger. Thank you for stopping by again on this channel. What do we do here? Well, we share general tech advice, information, tips on PCs, laptops, networks. So we share things which will ensure that you're optimizing on these resources. And also, if you're a small business operator, we certainly have a lot of ideas here for you. And we can also help you to optimize your business, the technology side, and also the operations of that small business. All right. No, that's it. Looking at that side of the business. All right. Let us jump right into the video. All right. Now, the first thing that I have on my list, the first thing that you need to give consideration to is the speed, your broadband speed. And that is the speed of your modem / router that you get from your ISP, that's your internet service provider. Before you go securing that contract, the first thing, what I would recommend that you do is, first of all, do a calculation. Look at what it is that you're going to be doing on your network. Or perhaps you have an existing service. You perhaps need to review what it is that you're doing currently or what you intend to scale it to in the near future, and ensure that you secure a package that would best enable you to optimize on what it is that you're doing on or will be doing on the network. The second tip I have for you is consider the frequency on which the router, that router / modem from your ISP can operate. So if it is dual band or tri-band, because that will have implications too for your network. Now, thirdly, look at you need to consider the speed now of other devices. These are networking devices now that you have on your network. You have, let's just say you have, access points, you have switches, within the network. If those other devices are not operating on or at the same speed of, let us say, the speed of your broadband router, then you're going to have issues there. So let's just say that your broadband router is 1 gigahertz. Well, not 1 gigahertz, 1 gigabits per second. And let's just say that you have a switch connected to that, to which you have other devices connected. So you have the broadband router, you have your switch, and you have other devices now connected to that switch that is connected to the router. If that switch, if the output, the broadband, sorry, not the broadband, the bandwidth of the switch is less than, let's just say 100 megabits per second. So it's less than the speed of your broadband router, then you're not going to be optimizing on the speed of your network. Okay, because even though the router is pushing out 1 gigabits per second, your switch, that switch there that I just mentioned, does not output up to that speed. The speed is less. So you're going to have some performance issues there. Okay, so these are things that you need to consider. Similarly for your access point, what is the bandwidth of your access point? Okay, hope you're getting the point. Looking at my list here. Now, the other thing that you need to give consideration to is the type of cabling. So if you're hardwiring the devices, also you have to give consideration to what type of cable that you're using. So if it is, for instance, fiber, and of course fiber would be be giving you the most optimal speed if the devices are hardwired. So is it fiber, or are you using twisted pairs? So if it is twisted pairs, what type of cabling? Is it Cat 5, 5E, 6, or Cat 6A? Here again. So if, of the 4 categories that I just listed for the twisted pairs, the Cat 5 would be operating, well, which will give you the least operational speed, and the Cat 6A would give you the highest. So here again, if the devices are hardwired, even if let's just say that they are hardwired to a switch, which is a gigabit switch, but you're using, let's just say, Cat 5 cable, which I believe is roughly about 100 megabits per second, then you're going to have performance issues there again. All right. Next, what is it that you are? So this is point 5. Looking at my list here. So, what is it that you are currently doing on your network, or that you may be doing on the network in the near future? If you're going to be doing things like live streams, you're going to be streaming games, if you're going to be doing live streams for different social media platforms, if you have a security camera system, these are things, and of course the amount of users and what it is that each user is doing on the network, the amount of devices connected to the network. These are things that can potentially strain your network if the bandwidth of the network is pretty much low. So you have to give consideration to these things. These are all things. So the live streaming of games and live streaming of videos, the security camera system, the feed. These are things that can really slow down, and they can really hog a lot of bandwidth, even with the security camera systems. And of course, for the security camera systems, if they are high resolution cameras, let's just say we have some 5 megapixel IP cameras, or they may be high resolution, and they have a whole barrage of cameras. Let's just say you have 8 cameras or 16 cameras. That's a lot of bandwidth that is going to be demanded there. And if your bandwidth that your router / modem from your ISP is spitting out, if it is pretty low, then you're going to have performance issues there. It means too that persons on the network who may be doing other stuff, using the internet, they may potentially have performance issues there. Also coming down, looking at point 6, tip 6, you may have interferences from other devices. So earlier I mentioned the bandwidth, but the band or the frequency of the router / modem, or your APs, your access points. The speed, the bandwidth, the band. So if it is 2.4 gigahertz, for instance, that it is operating on, there are other devices, things like the microwave, things like your cordless phones and other wireless devices that you may have that can potentially disrupt the signals. And those are things too that will contribute to the speed degenerating and affecting the performance overall. So you have to give consideration to those things also. All right. What about things like your power fluctuation? So in here in Jamaica, we have a bit of challenge where every so often the electricity supply fluctuates, and just a little 1 second or millisecond chip in the electricity supply can and will affect your modem or your access points. And so if you do not have the prerequisite power equipment, then you can face disruptions, because once the light goes out, even for a second, then that modem or access point is going to go offline, and it's going to disrupt, of course, the performance or the availability of the service. All right, so these are some things that you need to give consideration to when you're thinking about building out your network. And of course, you have other things like the placement of things like your wireless router, the placement of the access points, where they are positioned. Things like those also will similarly impact the performance of your network. All right, so that's what I will share those few tips with you. So if you're thinking about setting up that network, or perhaps you have an existing network, you may need to reconfigure some of these things, some of the devices. Probably you may need to go and get additional devices or replace some of the devices. Yes. Even before I go, the configuration of the devices. Let me just mention this. The configuration of the devices also. So if you look at a situation where you have, like in my setup, I have a managed switch. I use managed switches. So how the switches are configured will also determine the speed of the network. And of course, the amount of layers that the network consists of in terms of the amount of devices that you have. All right, so in terms of the amount of devices that you have, physical devices that you have on the network, that your end devices, your things like your smartphone, your your laptop and so forth has to go through before the signal gets to the device. That also will determine, the extent of the performance of your network in terms of speed. All right, so that's it from me. Thank you for watching. Please remember, before you go, hit the like button, subscribe if you haven't yet become a subscriber. Really appreciate it. We can get the numbers up, and also hit the notification bell so that when we upload new videos, you'll be automatically notified. And of course, share the videos. Looking forward to seeing you again in the next video. Take care.